Then Matt the Maniac hits the stage for his 1986 World Tour, and the crowd goes wild. Don't forget to pose for all the hotties in the front row. That's right, babe. How you do? Oh, hi, guys. Sorry about that. I keep getting caught up in that unbelievable graphic novel that I'm so into called Out of Tune by Anthony Parisi. Check out Amazon.com, iTunes, or wherever good books are not sold. Listen, this is the Week 10 preview show, and here I am again doing it for real. I've got games to recap, predictions to give, we've got playoff contenders emerging, we've got playoff pretenders falling off. Right now, let's get back into last week's action, and I want to start off with the match that really didn't have any ramifications on the coming playoffs, and that is my Warriors of Babylon taking on Matt Dreyfus's off in the corner. My Warriors won this one 136-77. I got 35 points out of Cam Newton, 23 points out of Tyler Eifert, and 22 points out of running back off the scrap heap, Jeremy Langford. Where Matt, you got 27 points out of Blake Bortles, 16 points out of Greg Zuerlein, and 13 points from the Cincinnati Bengals. In another match from last week that had a little bit of a ramification, but it really was more about if Mike Bond could continue to get this team that basically is a collection of shit still further into the win column. And the answer was a resounding no, as little Bobby Crane's Julius Jones took on Mike Bond's DeMarco DePolo, and Bob won this one 143-70. Bob got 45 points out of Aaron Rodgers, 24 points out of Adrian Peterson, who just a couple weeks ago Bob was ready to trade away, and 27 points out of Michael Crabtree. Where Bond, you got 21 points out of DeMarco Murray, 20 points out of Alshon Jeffrey, and 16 points out of Ryan Tannehill. So with that, Bond takes a playoff hit. He's still in contention, though, amazingly. With that team, he is still in the playoff hunt. And really, from a matchup last week that I was really looking forward to, and I was really pulling hard for one guy, and of course that was Greg Long taking on Aaron Stamp's Snoozy Loaf when the Mount Laurel Lancers went to Aaron Stamp's Snoozy Loafs. And Greg Long just destroyed Aaron, 155-74. Greg, you got 38 points out of Drew Brees, who's on fire for you lately, 27 points out of Emmanuel Sanders, and 26 points out of LaShawn McCoy. Where Aaron, you got 14 points out of Eli Manning, 13 out of Brandon Cooks, and 11 from Caleb Sturgis. Now, what's really nice about this was when Aaron doesn't win in this league over the weekend, Mondays are pretty quiet. We don't need to hear him basically talking about his fantasy football expertise, especially when his team only scores 70-something points. It was really a refreshing week, to say the least, around the office. In another match, I had some serious rooting interest. Rob Giannoni's Cosby Sleepers took on Jeff Szymanski's Paper Tiger, and Rob won this one 120-96. Rob, you got 25 points out of Lamar Miller, who really has been a running back to count on ever since the coaching switch down in Miami. That has been a big bonus for you this year. You got 23 points out of LeGarrette Blount and 19 out of Tyrod Taylor, who was a nice pickup off the waiver wire this week when you needed a quarterback in a pinch. Where Szymanski, you got 24 points out of Peyton Manning, 17 points out of Allen Robinson, and 16 out of Darren McFadden. And in a match that I was really hoping would be the other way, I'm thinking Bobby Crane because of the team logo. Brian Sheehan's Brady's Ball Deflators took on Deputy Commissioner Chris Long's Asgardian Thunder Gods, and Brian wins this one 150 to 110, further cementing Sheesh's elite level this season. He gets 38 points out of Antonio Brown, who had a ridiculous game, 27 points out of Randall Cobb, and 20 points out of Tom Brady. Where Chris, you got 41 points out of D'Angelo Williams, 23 points out of Andrew Luck, and 15 points out of Brandon LaFell. And in a match that I have dubbed through the years, and I failed to even recognize the fact that it was the match this week, and that is the Ulticocker Bowl. And that is where we get the two senior members of Turnpike to Turnpike, and that is John Moore's Downingtown Grandpas taking on Jeff Goldenbaum's Hamilton Square Possums. And John wins this one 107 to 91. John, you got 24 points out of Jay Cutler, 21 points out of Des Bryant, and 16 points out of Danny Woodhead. Where Jeff, you got 18 points out of Phillip Rivers, 18 out of Julio Jones, and 14 out of the Carolina Panthers defense. And just like that, guys, we are a couple weeks away from the playoffs. We have two 7-2 teams. We have a 6-3 and a bunch at 5-4. That's rounding out your playoffs with the inclusion of DeMarco DePolo. How they are there at 5-4. Granted, the final playoff spot at the time that I'm recording this. We'll see if Mike can still rubble some kind of pixie dust on that and try to get his way into the playoffs. Doesn't look likely. And at the bottom of the pack, we've got Jeffrey Hezekiah Goldenbaum. Now, Jeff, I know we're doing a little bit of math and looking at your abacus and trying to figure out what went wrong when you drafted all these players that you've never heard of or picked players you never heard of, and you're not understanding how bad your team is. And I'll be honest with you, I don't either. It's really the luck of the draw. How can Mike Bond's team be 5-4 and your team be 2-7? I do not know until I look at strength of schedule, points against. And it is really incredible that the four guys at the top of the league standings are the four guys at the bottom of the points against list. They have had the least points scored against them. So sometimes it's really not what the abacus tells you to do. It's really luck and who you're playing each and every week. So with that little bit, let me get to this coming week's matchups. And I'm going to get to it with my matchup against Bob Crane's Julius Jones, my Warrior Babylon taking on Julius Jones. Now I'm going to tell you right now, this one is not even going to be close. Bob, you are going to destroy me. With that stacked roster you have, I've got nothing. So congratulations on moving to 6-4. Bobby, you are going to cement yourself in a playoff spot this year. Who knows, Bobby? This could be the year. Aaron Rodgers, Todd Gurley, Adrian Peterson. This could be the year for you, buddy. I'm rooting for you. I'm pulling for you big time. Congratulations, Bobby. In another match up, we've got Deputy Commissioner Chris Long's Asgardian Thunder Gods. He, too, is just playing out the string of this season as he's taking on John Moore's Downingtown Grandpas. John still has an outside shot at making the playoffs. He's trying to make that leap, trying to get there for the first time in Turnpike to Turnpike history. This should be an interesting match. Jeffrey Hezekiah Goldenbaum, Hamilton Square Possum taking on Cosby Sleeper, Rob's team. This is a 2-7 team taking on a 4-5. Rob, you're another one. Outside shot at making the playoffs. This is a big game for you. And really in the match, well, let's save this one for the end. Let's save that one for the end. Up next, I want to talk about Jeff Saminsky's Paper Tiger taking on Matt Dreyfus's Fishtown off in the corner. Two teams that could potentially make the playoffs. Not so much Matt. Matt, a lot of things would have to happen your way to get into the playoffs this year and not miss the playoffs for 2 consecutive years for the first time since you've been in the league. Jeff, you're at 4-5. This is going to be an interesting match. Then we've got really two good friends around the office. Both of them are, hipsters. One's a little bit more hipster than the other. They both like to wear their layers and their skinny jeans, and they've got their beards and all that kind of bullshit going on. But, of course, I'm talking about Aaron Stampus, Team Snoozy Love, taking on Mike Bonds, DeMarco DePolo. Let's see if Aaron can bounce back and get back in the win column, or really if Bond could really get up to 6-4 and really lock himself in the playoffs, which would just be amazing. Finally, we get to the last match next week, and it really is an awesome one this late in the year to have one this big. 2 7-2 teams when Brian Sheen's Brady's Baldefliers take on Greg Long's Mount Laurel Lancers. Now, Greg, I haven't had a real chance to talk this year about your team. Your team has been phenomenal. You drafted incredible. It's got to be hell in your house this year with your father. Your father being defending champ, having just a couple wins, 3 wins this season, and you're just rolling. This is a big match for both you guys. Whoever wins this one really basically cements themselves as the team to beat in Turnpike to Turnpike this year. So, with that, I'm League Commissioner Kevin Bula. I got to get going because I got to get back to reading my Out of Tune. Again, you can't find it anywhere where good books are sold. I'm League Commissioner Kevin Babula.